In 1909, a small Arizona newspaper, the Arizona Gazette, published an article that, if true, should have rewritten human history. It claimed that an explorer named G.E. Kincaid had stumbled upon an underground city inside the Grand Canyon. Not just a few ruins or carvings, but a full-blown labyrinth of tunnels, chambers, and artifacts that looked like they came straight out of Egypt or Asia. The kind of thing archaeologists spend their lifetime searching for. The kind of thing that, if real, would change everything we know about who came here first. The article didn't treat it like rumor or hearsay. It read like a field report, precise, descriptive, and oddly formal for a newspaper in 1909. It described an expedition supposedly funded by the Smithsonian Institution, led by Professor S.A. Jordan. It detailed copper tools, stone tablets, and mummies wrapped in what appeared to be Egyptian fashion, and a colossal cross-legged statue sitting in a central chamber. Even hieroglyphs are said to cover the walls, carved into the rock itself. And then, silence. Nothing. No follow-up story, no Smithsonian statement, no evidence, just gone. As if the entire event evaporated overnight. And that, more than anything, is what hooked people, including me. It wasn't what the story said, it's just how it completely vanished. But if this were just a hoax, someone would have come forward. Someone would have laughed it off. But instead, all we have is this single article, this single voice from 1909 echoing through time, saying there's a pyramid hidden somewhere in the Grand Canyon. The story begins with a man named G.E. Kincaid, supposedly a solo explorer traveling down the Colorado River. He was a seasoned adventurer and a former army officer conducting a survey for the Smithsonian. While floating through the canyon, Kincaid noticed what looked like a cave entrance nearly 2,000 feet up the canyon wall, a dark oval opening that didn't seem natural. He decided to climb up and investigate, and that decision, according to the paper, changed everything. Kincaid supposedly found a long tunnel, stretching hundreds of feet into the stone before splitting into smaller passageways. The more elaborate the structure became, rooms carved into geometric shapes, perfectly symmetrical, and filled with objects that shouldn't exist in an American canyon. Copper tools, stone vessels, and even sculptures depicting faces that looked foreign. Not Native American, not prehistoric, but something else entirely. In the center sat a massive cross-legged statue resembling either Buddha or an Egyptian god. Surrounding it were smaller alcoves stacked with urns, copper weapons, and what appeared to be ceremonial items. The walls were lined with hieroglyphic-style symbols, not like anything found among local tribes, but eerily similar to what archaeologists have found in Egypt. What's very strange is how matter-of-fact the Gazette wrote about it. The tone wasn't sensational. It wasn't even like clickbaity, or if that was even a thing back then. It sounded very professional. They even listed measurements, noting that some tunnels stretched hundreds of feet, and that the air deep inside was still and cool, suggesting a ventilation system. It's written with the kind of precision that makes you question whether it was really just a hoax. And here's a kicker, guys. The Gazette claimed that the Smithsonian had been notified, that Professor Jordan and his team were cataloging artifacts on site, and that the discoveries would revolutionize our understanding of human civilization. That was the quote. If you're alive in 1909 reading that over breakfast, you'd think the greatest archaeological find in human history just happened right in your backyard. Then, nothing. Nothing happens. Story goes dark. Completely dark after that. No follow-ups, no updates, not even a denial or anything. The Arizona Gazette never mentioned it again. The Smithsonian never confirmed it. The alleged explorers, G.E. Kincaid and Professor Jordan, simply disappeared from the record. It's like someone flipped a switch and the entire story was erased. Modern researchers tried to dig into this. No pun intended. But no trace of these men exists anywhere. There's no Smithsonian record of an S.A. Jordan, no military listing for a G.E. Kincaid. Even the Gazette's own archives make no further reference of them. And that's where the mystery really begins. Because hoaxes usually leave fingerprints, someone bragging about it, someone debunking it, someone saying, yeah, this was just a story. But not this one. This one just ended, vanished. Adding fuel to the fire, the region described in the article, a stretch of the Grand Canyon near the Little Colorado River, is now a restricted territory. You can't hike there, you can't fly drones there, you can't do anything over there. The National Park Service and the Hopi Nation both consider it off limits, and any expedition permits are nearly impossible to get. That's the same area where the article says the tunnels were. Weird. The strange part is how the official silence makes it worse. The Smithsonian, when asked about the incident, didn't issue a detailed denial. They just said, we have no record of such a thing. That's it. That's all. And for a story that sounds already unbelievable, that silence only amplifies the doubt. People started connecting the dots, maybe too eagerly, but some of the dots were hard to ignore. The canyon itself has landmarks named Isis Temple, Tower of Ra, Osiris Temple, Shiva's Hall. Those names were given by early cartographers decades before the article, but the coincidence was too juicy. Egyptian names, Egyptian artifacts, Egyptian-style underground chambers. It all started to feel like just maybe, there was something that they didn't want people to find. So what are the theories? There are several, and they range from plausible to downright wild. The most common one is a Smithsonian cover-up theory. The idea that the Smithsonian discovered something that didn't fit in the accepted timeline of human history and chose to suppress it. This ties into the broader claim that institutions often protect mainstream narratives, bearing evidence that suggests advanced civilizations existed before the known ones. Things like giant human skeletons, strange tools, or ancient tablets that didn't fit into known cultural patterns. While there's never been concrete proof of a cover-up, the pattern of mysterious disappearances keeps the theory alive. People argue that the pyramid discovery was simply one of the most inconvenient finds that got archived out of existence. Then there's the Hopi legend connection. The Hopi, whose ancestors have lived around the Grand Canyon for thousands of years, have oral traditions about beings called the Ant People. According to legend, these beings lived underground and sheltered humanity during a great cataclysm, possibly a global flood or like a meteor event. Some believe the tunnels described by Kincaid weren't man-made at all, but remnants of those so-called ant people. Others take a more rational stance. They think the story was a publicity stunt. You see, in 1909, Arizona wasn't yet a state. The idea of a mysterious archaeological discovery could attract attention, investors, settlers, and curiosity seekers. The Gazette may have simply printed a tall tale to stir interest and put Phoenix on the map. But then again, the tone of the article doesn't match a joke. It doesn't read like satire. It's written with too much detail and too much restraint. If it was fake, it was a carefully engineered fake. And maybe that's why the story has endured for over a century. Because it sits perfectly on the nice edge between this it can't be real, but what if it is? So let's pull it apart. There's no record of a Professor S.A. Jordan anywhere in Smithsonian archives or scientific society from that era. The Smithsonian keeps meticulous records of its field expeditions, and nothing close to a 1909 Grand Canyon dig is on file. No employee by that name, no expense reports, no correspondence. In other words, no paper trail. The coordinates given in the article place the supposed caves in sheer vertical cliff rock, areas where an excavation would have caused collapse. Even modern equipment today would struggle in those areas. And yet, the story describes vast underground rooms large enough to fit thousands of people. Geologically speaking, it doesn't make any sense. Third, the writing style of the Gazette article matches other boosterism pieces from early Arizona newspapers. Colorful stories meant to attract attention to the region. Remember, this was 3 years before Arizona was named a state. Newspapers at the time often mixed facts with flair to make the territory seem exotic and rich with discovery. Modern archaeologists and local Hopi historians also confirm that there's no record of Egyptian-style artifacts ever found in the canyon. The tools, ceramic, and ruins discovered there belong to Native American tribes, primarily the ancestral Puebloans, and their cultural lineage is well documented. So if Kincaid's cave existed, someone should have stumbled across something by now. No one ever has. At this point, most historians agree it was likely a fabrication. An elaborate story. Maybe even inspired by genuine cave networks in the area, but massively exaggerated. Still, the fact that it was never retracted, never corrected, and never followed up on, keeps that door open even if it's just a crack. So the Grand Canyon Pyramid story didn't vanish, it evolved. It spread across forums, documentaries, and mystery podcasts, resurfacing every decade with new interpretations. Some say Kincaid's tunnels connect to ancient Atlantean migration routes. Others tie it to secret military excavations or hidden knowledge kept beneath the canyon floor. Once a story like this hits the internet, it doesn't die, it mutates. And honestly, that's part of its power. The idea that there might be something ancient, something forbidden, buried in plain sight. It captures that same curiosity that makes us dig into Atlantis and Tartaria. It's the idea that maybe history isn't as clean and neat as we're told. And if you think about it, the Grand Canyon is absolutely massive. I'm sure there's probably some things there that we don't really know about. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. That's it for this episode. I recommend checking out this story for yourself guys, it's super interesting. Drop a like and comment down below guys, I'd really appreciate it, and for more episodes be sure to subscribe. I drop an episode every Monday, so stay tuned. Anyways guys, stay curious.